Hello and welcome to the Equilibrium Dungeon Guide, although a little bit later than I would have liked to have posted it, but it's here now. Today we're going to be going over the dungeon itself along with the post-dungeon quest to get a few more goodies for your Praxic Blade. Before we get into the encounters, first I would like to talk about loadouts. For the most part, a lot of things are very viable here, which will net you a reliable two-phase from the hack and slash methods of the Praxic Blade and or Wolf's Bane exotic axe, especially while Renegades is the newest expansion thanks to the artifact, to the safer playing Rocket Pulse spam and Finalities Augur sitting in a well, at least while Rocket Pulses continue to be as strong as they are. Complement this with debuffs from Hunter Tether or whatever bonuses you might find from the artifact, and you'll probably only struggle with the 5-feeted version of the dungeon. The first encounter is one of the faster encounters we've seen in a dungeon in recent memory. The goal here is to eventually kill all of the behemoths that spawn in, which are spawned by killing nameless apprentices. To start the fight, you need to go up to the ship to try to board it. The fight will start with some enemies spawning in. Just kill them until you spawn the Nameless. The Nameless have a shield which makes them immune. Standing next to them causes them to initiate an explosion attack, which probably won't kill you on lower difficulties, but will deal a big chunk of damage and knock you back. To start, bait a Nameless next to one of the 3 satellites that are scattered around this area. When they start their explosion attack, activate the satellite to enable this explosion to hit the satellite. This will bring down the barrier next to the satellite, allowing you to enter the outer ring to progress the fight. In this outer ring are shadow pools. Driving into this pool, and you will want to drive, will progress your shadow buff at the top of your screen. Collect enough of these pools in order to get Shadow Novice, then leave this outer ring. Note that if you stay still for too long or don't pick up any shadow buffs while in this outer ring, you will die after a few seconds, so make sure you keep moving. Once you're a Shadow Novice, head back to the main arena. Bait the Nameless into attacking you, and then while they are casting their attack, melee them with the Shadow Punch that you should now have in your grenade slot with your grenade button. This will remove their shield, enabling you to kill them. Note that you can switch between your actual grenade and the Shadow Punch by hitting Z on the keyboard or whatever the keybind is on controller. Killing them drops a Shadow Pool, which will refresh the timer on your Shadow Novice buff. This will trigger behemoths to start spawning, which you should kill, just make sure that you don't get crushed by the Cabal drop pod. You should then start removing all of the shields from all of the Nameless in the arena, and you can chain this in a way that you only need to do the Sparrow section one time. Eventually, you should start seeing stronger versions of behemoths spawning in, just continue to get rid of them at your own pace. Once you have killed the last one, that will end the encounter. This encounter can be very short, around 3 minutes, once you know what to do. After a brief traversal section, you will find Harrow, the second encounter. The goal here is to remove Harrow's shield by trapping him in an electric pit multiple times. Let's explain how that works. When you start the fight, you'll be trapped in a room with doors that lead to an outer ring of rooms. These doors only open when enemies walk through them, or if a teammate holds it open for you, so you'll need to chill by a doorway and wait for the enemies to come through before you can walk through it. During the setup phase, Harrow will go invisible and stalk random players. Eventually they will pop out and start their explosion attack similar to the Nameless. This probably won't kill you, but it'll hurt pretty badly if you're close by, so either run away or, much like the first encounter, use your Shadow Punch while the attack is being cast in order to stun them and make them go away. You'll primarily be getting the shadow buff from Scions in this encounter, although the Centurions in these outer rooms also drop the buff. This time you'll need to become a Shadow Apprentice, which just requires another bar to be filled. Once you're an apprentice, you will need to punch 3 panels in each of the 3 rooms in this outer ring. You'll only have a few seconds to punch all 3, so move quickly, and you do need to be pretty close to them in order for them to activate. If you've done it successfully, you should hear a mechanical locking sound to indicate that you did it. Once all 3 rooms have had all of their 3 panels locked in, you should see a message that says Emergency Subsystems Activate, which is your signal to head back to the main room. In this room are 2 electric pit traps. These will remain open for a brief time after you activate them, shown here, and during that time you must bait the boss into running into this pit. Doing this will remove 1/3 of their shield. However, after the boss jumps out of the pit, you can punch them to remove a little bit more shield, and everyone should do this. If done correctly, you will only need 2 pit traps to remove the shield. However, around the room are many more panels, which activate these electric turbines, for lack of a better term. If you bait the boss into hitting these turbines by standing next to them and then having him lunge at you, this will not only remove some of his shield, but can extend the damage phase, so you'll want to prime at least one of these for safety. Note that if you run out of these turbines and still need to remove some shield, you can go hit the 9 panels in the outer rooms over again to refresh the pit traps. Once the damage phase starts, let them have it. Swords, wells, Wolf's Bane, Rocket Pulse spam, pretty much whatever you want. You get a pretty good amount of time to work with. Just remember to lure him into the bonus stuns in order to get some more time to deal more damage. If you don't get him to final stand, this process just repeats itself. If you do get to final stand, he will slice his way through a door into a new area. You're going to have a very brief window to kill him, which most teams should be able to do as long as you have some amount of ammo. But if not, there are some panels on the outside of these 2 pillars to punch, and a pit in the middle that you can use to trap, in addition to more of the electric turbines to bait him into in order to finish the job. The final boss will throw you back and forth between the normal and ascendant realms. The goal here is to destroy 5 of the taken orbs on the slab in the center of each arena, so 10 total, by killing nameless and blistered shadows. When you first start the fight, things will be pretty slow. Incendiors will spawn from random doorways, and this will be your only path to getting the shadow drops that you need to start building your buff. You'll need 3 drops before you gain access to the Shadow Punch, so kill them as fast as possible. The Nameless will be doing their thing, as they have been doing, punch them to interrupt, and then kill them quickly as they will drop more shadow buffs to collect. Killing a Nameless removes 1 shield protecting 1 orb on the slab, which allows you to destroy it. While all of this is happening, you're going to have another timer on your screen called Lure of the Dark, in addition to 5 checkboxes. When Lure of the Dark expires, you are teleported to the opposite realm. You can extend this timer by 8 seconds or so by destroying one of those taken orbs on the slab. Also, while in the normal realm, the boss will randomly target a player with Face Your Death, which is his main attack. This attack starts very weak in terms of damage, but will slowly ramp up over time, and it hits through all walls, so there's no avoiding it. Simply shoot the boss in the hands, both hands, until they stop. It takes around 300 damage to each hand to stop this attack, give or take. If you're moving fast enough, you should be able to kill a couple of Nameless before getting teleported, but there are no time limits here. When you're teleported, you have a similar but not exactly the same objective. The Ascendant Realm is much larger and has more platforming and hazards to worry about for starters, and it also has shadow pools randomly placed in the arena. But in here will be 5 blistered shadows. 2 of them will always be in the same spots, right in the center where you spawn in, and high up on this donut-looking thing also in the center of the arena. The remaining 3 will be randomly scattered on the outer ring. This arena also has the switches from the previous encounter. Hitting one of them will activate some additional platforms to help you around. Now, there are 2 ways of handling these blistered shadows. You can just kill them, which will remove a checkbox from the Lure of the Dark buff that you have, and also remove the immunity shield protecting a taken orb. Or you can compel them by going into melee range with the Shadow Master buff, the fully stacked shadow buff, which will fill in a checkbox. Here are the differences. The boss has a highlighted section of health. Once you reach the end of the highlighted section in a damage phase, the damage phase ends a couple of seconds later. Killing a blistered shadow will increase the amount of health in this highlighted section, to the point where you can have the entire health bar highlighted if you kill all 5 blisters. However, compelling a blistered shadow will increase the time that you get to deal damage to the boss, but not extend the health bar. So, you can configure your time and damage commitments based on how well you think you will do. However, if you don't reach the health threshold by the end of the phase, something else happens, which is not good, and I will explain that soon. So, for most of the fight, you'll be getting ping-ponged around between realms while stacking your shadow buff, while killing the taken orbs, while either killing or compelling blistered enemies. Another thing will be happening in the background. Around the normal realm will be 6 potential lightning rods that drop from the ceiling. Every time you get teleported, one of these is going to come down. Each of these has a corresponding switch nearby, which needs the Shadow Apprentice buff to see and activate. Hitting this switch will lift the rod back into the ceiling. This isn't mandatory, but it might make your life easier later. Once you've destroyed all 5 Taken orbs in both arenas, damage begins. If you're in the Taken realm when this happens, you'll be teleported and damage will start immediately. When damage begins, a giant ring of electricity will fill most of the room, save for the very outer edges and the middle. I'm just going to call this like an electric donut. Odds are that you will be fighting in the donut hole where it's safe. The main thing to look out for here is the boss's knockback, as they'll do it quite frequently if you get close, which most of the time you will be close. He will also do the face your death attack, and it takes a little more damage to turn his hands off. In terms of damage strategies, I still prefer Wolfsbane, but Rocket Pulses and Finality's Augur also totally work in their current state. When it comes to any sort of a melee-based setup, like swords, be aware that the knockback will be happening quite frequently, so make sure you're spamming the light attack of your weapon as the slam hits so you don't get pushed back. Warlocks can drop a well or use Song of Flame, you can use burst supers, debuffs, all of that is going to work just fine. There are a couple of other damage strategies as well, but they will probably not be as evergreen for the purposes of this video. Controverse Hold Warlock with Magnetic Grenade and the Weaken Fragment is doing what people are considering to be bugged damage, so don't expect that to last forever. And believe it or not, the Chaperone with Divinity is cooking this boss, but only because of a perk in the current artifact, Kinetic Synthesis, which can feed you special ammo and automatically reload you. Once that's gone, this strategy might still remain effective, just not as effective. Once the damage phase ends, if you did not hit the HP threshold on the boss, then all lightning rods will come down and be active, and most of the arena will be incredibly dangerous. You'll need to hit the switches in order to turn these off, but remember that you need to be an apprentice to do so, and getting buffs when the room is in this state is not really fun. If you did meet the threshold, then only the lightning rods that came down during the teleports will be active, which is why it's a good idea to be hitting those panels during the setup phase. This process repeats itself until the boss dies. No final stand, no tricks at the end. The dungeon ends immediately after the boss dies. Note that this is where the Dark Blade cosmetic variant of the Praxic Blade drops, and you can farm it infinitely on full runs of the dungeon. Next, we'll move to the post-dungeon quest line. Note that this could be almost fully completed in a single run if you play with someone who already has the quest completed, since they will have everything unlocked already. If no one in your team has done anything, you'll need to run it 3 times in order to complete the quest. When you get back to the first encounter, a previously closed door will now be open, giving you access to the temple. From here, you'll need to do a series of Praxic Blade-based challenges. The first one is in the first encounter area, but do the first encounter before doing this. The challenge for pretty much all of them is to kill things, pick up shadow buffs to become a shadow master, then remove the shield of a captain once you're a master by hitting the captain with the shadow punch. Then you'll hit another Taken orb, you'll move to a new area to do it again, killing stuff along the way. The timer is, I would say, pretty generous, but I would still move with some amount of urgency for all of the challenges. After you complete any one of the challenges, a doorway very close by will open up, giving you access to the collectible. The second challenge is more of the same, with the Taken orb being before the big jump across the 2 ships. Get to master, shadow punch the captain, and continue on the path. Note that you will need to interact with some panels here in order to get more shadow buff, in addition to some side doors now opening up. They'll all be nearby in the section that you're currently in, though. You won't have to explore too far. After section 1 of challenge 2, you'll jump across to continue, hit some more panels, look for secret side doors, get Shadow Master, and move on. There are a total of 4 sections for the second challenge. The final challenge is a little before the final encounter. The first section can be done a little bit faster just by pushing the captains off the cliff, and the same with the second section. However, the second section has a bunch of platforming to do. Use your sword throw to hit all of the eyes in order to generate some platforms. These platforms will guide you to a bunch of panels that you need to shadow punch. Your team should split up to get this done a little bit faster. Continue towards the boss once the latch opens in the big open area, and complete the final section to get your final collectible. Again, you can only do all of them in a single run if you play with someone who has done all of this already, otherwise you will need to repeat runs. Finish the dungeon and then load it back up for the final step by going back into the temple. Drop in all of the collectibles and activate the main encounter, again, have on Praxic Blade. You'll enter a boss encounter where you need to compel the boss to remove its shield to be able to deal damage. Works the same way as the final boss. Get Shadow Master, compel, rinse, repeat. Be sure to get rid of a couple of captains as well if they're getting annoying. Once the shield is removed, you'll open up platforms by hitting orbs and eyes, get up to the boss, and just start slashing until they're half health, which will start the process over again. Try to focus as much as you can on compelling the boss, and try to avoid breaking the corner rooms unless you're running really low on time. The corner rooms are where you trade your shadow buff for additional time. Kill stuff with the saber, you should be okay. Then, after you get the boss to half health, you're going to do the whole thing again, and then once you kill the boss, you are done, granting you a catalyst, energy conduit, and the ability to attune to specific drops in the dungeon. The dungeon does have some pretty good stuff. The armor set bonus is great for sword users, so in my opinion, this is pretty worth doing. Next, we just have the secret chests and a few collectibles. I'm just going to let these clips play, which will conclude the guide for Equilibrium. I am currently working on the solo and solo flawless guide as well. That should be coming within the next day or two. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.